Did you know that filing for Social Security at 62 might feel like opening the door to freedom, but in reality, it can quietly lock you into nearly 30% less income every month for the rest of your life? Imagine stepping into retirement excited for new adventures, only to find yourself budgeting every grocery trip, saying no to family vacations, and worrying whether the check will stretch to cover rising medical bills. Most seniors rush to claim because they think, "I worked for it, I deserve it now." And that's true, you do deserve it. But what most don't realize is that the system is designed with traps hidden in plain sight, traps that can drain your peace of mind and leave you with regrets years later. The shocking part? These mistakes aren't rare, they are common. Yet the good news is, you don't have to fall into them. By uncovering 8 little-known risks, you can escape the financial squeeze and make choices that give you dignity, freedom, and confidence. Stay with me, because risk number 4 is the one almost no one talks about, and it can quietly drain your savings without you noticing until it's too late. Meet Ephraim Calder, a 62-year-old retired postmaster who spent 4 decades behind the counter of a small-town post office. He knew every customer by name, handed out holiday stamps with a smile, and often gave advice to young couples sending off their first mortgage payments. When he finally hung up his uniform, everyone in town said, "Ephraim, you've earned this rest." And he believed them. Retirement at 62 felt like the right reward. So, when the first opportunity to claim Social Security arrived, he didn't hesitate. To him, it was a simple equation: start early, enjoy more years, live free. But what Ephraim didn't realize is that early claiming doesn't just bring money, it brings consequences. The first few months felt comfortable. He bought a new fishing rod, treated his wife Serafina to dinners, and even helped his grandson with college books. Then, slowly, the cracks began to show. Bills rose while his monthly check stayed the same. The trips he dreamed of felt out of reach. When Serafina asked about their long-term plans, he struggled to give her a clear answer. The safety net he thought would hold them started to feel like it was woven with holes. Ephraim's story isn't one of failure, it's one of awakening. Each challenge became a lesson that seniors like you can learn from without paying the same price. He discovered that timing, strategy, and planning mattered far more than he first believed. His journey reminds us that Social Security isn't just paperwork, it's the backbone of retirement security. And the choices you make at 62 can echo for decades. His experiences will guide us through the 8 hidden risks ahead, and more importantly, show you how to escape them before they become your reality. Risk 1: Reduced monthly benefits. When Ephraim Calder first walked into the Social Security office at 62, he felt a rush of relief. After years of hard work at the post office, here was his reward, a steady check arriving like clockwork. But what Ephraim didn't fully grasp was the hidden math working against him. By claiming early, he locked himself into a permanent reduction. Instead of the $1,800 he might have received at full retirement age, his monthly benefit dropped to around $1,300. It seemed fine at first, money in hand is always tempting. But over time, the reality sank in. That $500 difference wasn't just a one-time cut. It was a reduction repeated every single month, year after year, for the rest of his life. Now imagine that across 2 decades. By his 80s, Ephraim had missed out on tens of thousands of dollars, money that could have covered rising healthcare costs, unexpected home repairs, or even the simple joys of travel and family gifts. This is the trap many seniors fall into. They think they are getting ahead by filing early, but instead they are quietly shrinking their retirement security. And here's the part most don't realize: the cut isn't temporary. Once you claim at 62, the system doesn't give you a redo for larger payments. It's locked in. The answer lies in timing. Every year you delay after 62, your benefit grows. Wait until your full retirement age, between 66 and 67 for most people, and you'll see a significant boost. Hold off until 70, and the growth is even greater, up to 8% more per year. Think of it as giving yourself a guaranteed raise, one that no employer, no investment, and no side hustle can easily match. This doesn't mean everyone should delay until 70. Health, finances, and personal circumstances matter. But the key is to understand the trade-off. Delaying just a few years can transform your check from barely enough to more than comfortable. Ephraim wished he had known this before rushing in, because that extra $500 a month could have been the difference between worry and peace. Don't let impatience rob you of security. Think long-term, weigh your options, and remember that Social Security isn't just about today, it's about protecting your future self. Risk 2. Earnings test penalties. When Ephraim Calder retired at 62, he thought his Social Security checks would neatly complement a few consulting jobs he picked up on the side. After all, he wasn't ready to sit idle. His neighbors still trusted him for advice on business paperwork, and a local shipping company offered him part-time hours. The extra income felt like a win, until the first Social Security statement arrived lighter than expected. Confused, Ephraim asked why, only to discover the hidden rule that shocks many seniors, the earnings test. Here's how it works. If you claim Social Security before reaching full retirement age and continue working, your benefits aren't guaranteed in full. For every $2 you earn above the annual limit, about $22,000 in recent years, the Social Security Administration withholds $1 from your benefits. Imagine earning just a little more to cover rising grocery bills or a new medical prescription, only to see your Social Security check shrink as punishment. Ephraim felt betrayed. He thought he was being responsible, staying active and contributing, yet the system penalized him for it. The effect isn't only about missing money today. Having benefits withheld can create budgeting chaos. Ephraim planned for steady checks to pay his utilities and supplement Serafina's household budget. When those checks fluctuated, stress replaced his sense of security. And like many retirees, he hadn't been warned about this before filing. The good news is, there are clear ways to escape this trap. The simplest is to delay claiming benefits until you reach full retirement age, usually 66 or 67, when the earnings test no longer applies. From that point forward, you can work as much as you want without losing a dollar in Social Security. But if waiting isn't an option, strategy matters. Some seniors choose to limit part-time hours to stay under the earnings threshold. Others coordinate income by spacing out consulting contracts or temporary jobs so they don't push their yearly earnings too high. It's also important to note that while withheld benefits aren't lost forever, they're credited back in the form of higher payments later. The immediate impact can be destabilizing. Many seniors don't have the luxury of waiting months or years to get it back. Planning ahead avoids the surprise. Ephraim eventually adjusted his work schedule, trading long consulting weeks for fewer, higher-paying projects that kept him under the line. The balance allowed him to keep his Social Security intact while staying productive. His lesson is clear: early filing combined with continued work is a dangerous mix unless you understand the rules. By delaying or restructuring work, you gain control and protect your income. Retirement doesn't mean you stop contributing, but if you want to keep your paycheck and your Social Security, you need a strategy. Don't let the earnings test sneak up and steal your peace of mind. Risk 3. Spousal and survivor cuts. When Ephraim Calder filed at 62, he thought only about his own check. After years of steady work at the post office, he believed securing income for himself was the responsible choice. What he overlooked, however, was how his decision rippled out to Serafina, his wife of nearly 40 years. She had left her teaching job early to care for her aging mother, meaning her own retirement benefits were modest. Like many couples, they assumed Ephraim's Social Security would provide stability for both of them. But by claiming early, he unknowingly reduced not just his own benefit, but also the amount Serafina could depend on if she ever needed spousal or survivor benefits. This is where the hidden trap reveals itself. When one spouse claims early, the reduced payment becomes the base figure that the other spouse's benefits are tied to. For survivor benefits, this reduction is permanent. Serafina, who expected to rely on a larger monthly amount if Ephraim passed first, was shocked to learn she would receive less than she thought. It wasn't just about numbers on paper, it was about her financial security in the years when she might need it most. For a widow or widower, those extra dollars can be the difference between managing comfortably and struggling with everyday costs. The emotional weight of this realization hit Ephraim hard. He had always seen himself as the provider, the one who ensured his family's safety. To learn that an early decision could leave Serafina vulnerable filled him with regret. It also opened his eyes to a truth many couples don't realize until it's too late. Social Security is not just an individual choice, it's a family strategy. Every decision impacts not just the filer, but the partner who may outlive them. There is, however, a way to turn this around. Couples can protect each other by coordinating their claiming strategies. Often, it makes sense for the higher earner to delay benefits, securing a larger monthly check that will continue for life and provide a stronger survivor benefit. Meanwhile, the lower-earning spouse may choose to file earlier if needed, balancing immediate income with long-term security. This partnership approach allows families to maximize not just the dollars, but the peace of mind that comes from knowing both partners will be cared for. Ephraim and Serafina eventually revisited their plan with a financial advisor. While his early filing couldn't be undone, they adjusted their savings withdrawals, and Serafina delayed her own claim to strengthen her benefit. The changes gave them confidence that she wouldn't be left unprotected. Their story is a reminder that retirement planning is not a solo journey, it is a shared responsibility. By looking beyond the immediate gain and thinking of your partner's future, you safeguard the very people you've worked so hard to provide for. Risk 4. Higher lifetime tax burden. When Ephraim Calder filed for Social Security at 62, he felt certain it was the safe move. A steady check arriving each month seemed like a lifeline, especially when paired with the modest savings he and Serafina had tucked away. But Ephraim overlooked one of the most frustrating traps: taxes. Like many seniors, he assumed Social Security would come tax-free since it was money he had already earned throughout his career. What he didn't realize was how taking benefits early, while still bringing in income from part-time work and retirement accounts, could drag more of those checks into the taxable column. The reality hit during tax season. Ephraim sat at the kitchen table with Serafina, staring at a bill far larger than expected. The combination of consulting work, small pension payouts, and his Social Security benefits pushed them over the threshold that triggers taxation on Social Security. Suddenly, up to 85% of his benefit was taxable. The monthly check he thought would ease their load was quietly shrinking under the weight of IRS rules. What felt like extra money at 62 ended up creating years of higher tax obligations, eating into savings they thought would last. The emotional impact was just as heavy as the financial one. Ephraim prided himself on careful planning, yet here was a trap hidden in fine print. Serafina, ever cautious, worried about how rising taxes would affect their long-term security. They had planned family trips, home repairs, and a cushion for healthcare, but now much of that budget was being siphoned away. And unlike one-time mistakes, this wasn't a single year's problem. Filing early had set them on a course for higher lifetime taxation, a burden that would follow them well into their later years. What could they have done differently? The key lies in timing and coordination. By holding off on claiming Social Security until full retirement age or later, seniors can often reduce how much of their benefit is taxed. Strategically managing withdrawals from retirement accounts, such as IRAs or 401(k)s, before filing can also help balance taxable income levels. Some retirees even take advantage of Roth conversions in their early 60s, when they are in a lower tax bracket, so that future withdrawals won't increase taxable income and push Social Security into higher taxation. For Ephraim and Serafina, the lesson came late but not too late to adjust. They began working with a tax advisor to restructure withdrawals and shift certain expenses into years with lower taxable income. While Ephraim couldn't undo filing early, they discovered ways to limit the damage and protect their nest egg moving forward. Their story shows how Social Security isn't just about when you want money, it's about how that choice ripples through every corner of your retirement, including the tax bill waiting each spring. By thinking ahead and coordinating income streams, seniors can turn a hidden tax trap into an opportunity for smarter, more secure living. Risk 5. Medicare enrollment confusion. When Ephraim Calder claimed Social Security at 62, he didn't give much thought to Medicare. After all, health coverage still came through the retiree plan from his years at the post office. He assumed that when the time came, Medicare would simply click into place without much effort. But like many seniors, he soon learned that filing for Social Security too early can create a tangle of timing issues with Medicare, and those missteps often come with penalties or gaps in coverage that are expensive and stressful to fix. Here's where the trap hides. If you begin Social Security before age 65, you're automatically enrolled in Medicare Part A when you reach eligibility, but Part B, the coverage for doctor visits and outpatient care, requires separate action. Some seniors mistakenly assume everything is automatic and delay enrolling in Part B because they still have other coverage. The problem is, if that coverage doesn't qualify as creditable under Medicare rules, a late enrollment penalty begins stacking up, an extra charge added to your Part B premium every month for life. Ephraim was stunned when a neighbor confided that her penalty made her monthly premium nearly 30% higher, all because she delayed signing up by just a year. For Ephraim and Serafina, the concern was even more pressing because Serafina had health conditions that meant regular doctor visits and prescriptions. A coverage gap, even for a few months, could leave them paying out of pocket for thousands of dollars in medical bills. And unlike small budgeting errors, healthcare gaps are high stakes. One mistreatment or unaffordable prescription can ripple into long-term health consequences. The stress of worrying about whether they'd made the right Medicare choices weighed heavier than any tax bill. The way out is clarity and coordination. Aligning Social Security claiming with Medicare planning ensures a smoother transition. For many, that means waiting until at least 65 to file, so that Social Security and Medicare begin working together seamlessly. For those who file earlier, it's critical to mark the calendar for Medicare enrollment and verify whether existing health coverage meets Medicare standards. This prevents penalties and avoids costly gaps. Seniors who plan ahead often discover they can even time withdrawals and coverage choices to reduce overall medical expenses. Ephraim eventually sat down with a Medicare counselor who walked him through the maze of Parts A, B, D, and supplemental plans. What felt overwhelming at first became manageable once the rules were clear. While he couldn't change his early filing decision, he made sure Serafina's enrollment was timed perfectly to avoid penalties, and together they secured coverage that protected them both. Their story is a reminder that retirement planning isn't just about income, it's also about guarding your health. Filing too early for Social Security may feel rewarding, but if it complicates Medicare, the cost can far outweigh the benefit. With careful timing and a proactive plan, you can protect both your wallet and your well-being. Risk 6. Smaller cost of living adjustments. When Ephraim Calder first received his Social Security check at 62, it felt like a steady lifeline. The amount wasn't huge, but it was dependable, and the letter mentioned annual cost of living adjustments, COLAs, that would help keep pace with inflation. To him, that sounded like reassurance. Prices might rise, but his check would rise too. What he didn't realize was that those COLA increases are tied to the size of the starting benefit. Because he locked in a reduced amount by claiming early, each adjustment was built on a smaller base. Over time, the difference compounded into a painful gap. Consider this: if Ephraim had waited until full retirement age, his check might have started at $1,800. With COLA increases over 2 decades, that amount could have grown into something far more substantial by his 80s. Instead, starting at $1,300 meant every yearly adjustment was smaller, $20 here, $30 there, numbers that seemed insignificant at first but added up to thousands of dollars lost. By the time groceries, utilities, and healthcare costs surged in his later years, those missing dollars were sorely felt. Serafina noticed it most in the everyday details. Their grocery bill seemed to outpace his check. Medications they once covered comfortably now required dipping into savings. Even leisure activities like taking the grandchildren to the movies became budget discussions. The frustration wasn't just about the money, it was about dignity. Ephraim often replayed his decision, realizing that impatience at 62 had slowly eroded the financial security he had worked so hard to build. But there's a way to avoid this slow drain. By delaying Social Security, even just a few years, seniors can lock in a larger base benefit. And because COLAs are applied as a percentage, a larger starting check means bigger increases every year going forward. It's like planting a tree. The taller it is when you start, the more shade it gives as it grows. Those extra dollars may not seem dramatic in the first year, But over a retirement that could last 20 to 30 years, the difference can be life-changing. Ephraim learned this lesson the hard way, but he shared it often with younger neighbors approaching retirement age. He told them that Social Security isn't just about what you get today, it's about how well you can keep up with the future. Inflation doesn't slow down for anyone, and the cost of living only climbs higher. By waiting, you give yourself a fighting chance to keep pace. For seniors who want stability, peace, and the freedom to enjoy later years without constant financial strain, understanding the impact of COLAs may be one of the smartest moves they can make. Risk 7. Outliving savings. When Ephraim Calder chose to file at 62, he thought of it as a safety cushion. Social Security would provide steady income, while his modest retirement savings could cover extras like travel, family gatherings, and unexpected expenses. For the first few years, this balance seemed to work. The monthly checks arrived, and when his granddaughter needed help with college tuition or the roof required repairs, he dipped into his savings. It felt manageable, even responsible. But what Ephraim didn't account for was the length of retirement. At 62, life expectancy can stretch decades. Living into the 80s or even 90s is increasingly common, and draining savings too quickly can turn the later years into a struggle. The hidden trap lies in the math. Because Ephraim locked in a smaller Social Security benefit early, more of the financial burden shifted to his personal savings. Each withdrawal seemed small at the time, $500 here, $1,000 there, but over the years those withdrawals piled up. By his mid-70s, the savings account that once looked reassuring had thinned dramatically. Serafina began to worry about what would happen if one of them needed long-term care or if medical costs rose sharply. The safety net they had imagined was fraying, and their options were limited. The emotional toll of this realization was heavy. Ephraim, once proud of being a provider, felt anxious about becoming a burden. Serafina quietly scaled back household spending, cutting out small joys like weekend outings or birthday gifts for the grandchildren. These weren't luxuries, they were pieces of the life they had dreamed of enjoying together. What hurt most was knowing that the decisions they made at 62 had boxed them into a corner later, when they needed flexibility the most. But there is a way to avoid this scenario. By delaying Social Security, retirees can secure larger monthly checks, reducing how much they need to draw from savings each year. This creates a buffer, allowing savings to last longer and serve their true purpose, handling emergencies, funding special moments, and covering unexpected costs. Some seniors also find that working just a little longer or adjusting spending in their early 60s gives their savings crucial time to grow instead of being depleted. These small adjustments early on can translate into decades of greater stability. Ephraim eventually realized that his early withdrawals had forced his savings to do too much heavy lifting. Had he waited even a few more years to claim Social Security, his higher benefit would have allowed those savings to stretch further, providing more security in his later years. His story is a reminder that retirement isn't just about the first 5 years of freedom, it's about ensuring comfort and dignity across 20 or 30 years of life. Claiming early may feel like instant relief, but without careful planning, it can quietly drain the very resources you'll depend on when you need them most. Risk 8. Missing out on maximum growth. By the time Ephraim Calder reached 62, he was eager to start enjoying retirement. The idea of receiving checks right away was tempting, and he convinced himself that more years of benefits meant more money overall. What he didn't fully consider was the incredible growth he was walking away from. Social Security is one of the few guarantees in retirement planning. For every year you delay claiming past your full retirement age, your benefit grows by about 8%, all the way up until age 70. That's not a small adjustment, it's a raise that compounds year after year, and once locked in, it lasts for life. Imagine the difference this could make. If Ephraim had waited until 70 instead of claiming at 62, his $1,300 monthly benefit could have grown into nearly $2,300. That's an extra $1,000 every single month, a difference big enough to cover rising medical costs, help with housing, or allow more freedom to enjoy life. Over the course of a retirement lasting 20 or 30 years, that gap adds up to hundreds of thousands of dollars in additional income. It's like walking past a guaranteed paycheck increase simply because patience felt too hard in the moment. The trap here is psychological. Many seniors fear they won't live long enough to make waiting worth it. But statistics show that life expectancy has risen, and for healthy adults, living into their 80s and 90s is common. The real risk is not dying too soon, it's living much longer than expected and running short on income. By waiting until closer to 70, retirees protect themselves against that very possibility, ensuring that their later years are funded with larger, inflation-adjusted checks. For Ephraim, the realization came when he compared his own check with that of a neighbor, Raymond, who waited until 68 to claim. Raymond received nearly $700 more each month. The contrast was eye-opening. While Ephraim sometimes struggled to cover unexpected expenses, Raymond lived with more confidence and stability, able to enjoy small luxuries without fear of running out. The difference wasn't luck, it was timing. The good news is that waiting until 70 isn't the only path. Even delaying just a few years after 62 can significantly increase monthly income. Seniors with strong health and manageable finances are often best positioned to take advantage of this growth, but even those with modest savings can benefit from carefully planning their timing. Higher benefits also mean larger survivor payments, protecting spouses long after one partner is gone. Ephraim admitted he had underestimated the power of delayed growth. Had he waited, his retirement could have felt less like a balancing act and more like the reward he deserved. For today's seniors, the lesson is clear: patience can be one of the most profitable choices you'll ever make. By waiting, you don't just increase your monthly benefit, you create lifelong security, protection against inflation, and the freedom to enjoy your later years without constant financial worry. Ephraim once carried the weight of regret, believing his decision to claim at 62 had sealed his financial fate forever. He worried that the smaller checks, higher taxes, and spousal reductions would follow him for the rest of his life. But with guidance, he learned that mistakes in retirement aren't always permanent. They can be managed, and their impact can be softened with smart strategies. He discovered how delaying future adjustments, restructuring work hours, and coordinating benefits with Serafina could give them more stability. He found tax-efficient ways to use his savings that reduced his annual burden and preserved more for the years ahead. Most importantly, he realized that retirement planning wasn't about what he had lost, it was about what he could still gain by making intentional choices moving forward. For the first time since filing, he felt control returning to his life. The anxiety that once clouded his mornings lifted, replaced with the comfort of knowing he had options. His story shows that Social Security doesn't have to be a trap, it can be a tool, but only if handled with care and foresight. Ephraim escaped the hidden risks by transforming his approach, and so can you. Social Security isn't just a formality, it's the backbone of your retirement security. The wrong step at 62 can feel small in the moment but cost you thousands over a lifetime. The right plan, however, can protect your health, your savings, and the loved ones you care about most. Think of it not as paperwork, but as a bridge into the retirement you deserve, a retirement built on confidence rather than regret. If this video gave you clarity, tap the like button right now. That simple action tells YouTube this wisdom matters, and it helps more seniors discover the guidance they need. Share this with a friend or family member over 60 who deserves peace of mind in their retirement decisions. And don't forget to subscribe to Retirement Freedom and Wealth Advice for Elderly, where we share strategies that keep you informed, empowered, and free to live the retirement you've earned. Your best years aren't behind you, they are waiting ahead, and with the right choices, they can be lived with dignity, stability, and joy.